What's going on, everybody? It's the Digital World Podcast, and we're going to go ahead and get started here. Now, we're going to look at a few things. Supermarkets using cardboard cutouts to hide gaps left by supply issues. Now, this is very interesting, and I'm going to cover a variety of topics today. So, if you want to go ahead and ask some questions while I'm going over some things, I'll be happy to answer them. Now, let's get started. Public mockery has problems with deliveries, and a move to fewer product lines result in empty shelves. And I know, actually, let me give you a quick story. Yesterday, I went to the store, right? And I was looking, and I'm one of those people that pays close attention to the price of things that I buy. Typically, one thing I always have in stock are beans and rice because I grew up on those things and they're pretty uh, inexpensive to buy as well. And I went to buy, I bought a little extra of beans and a little extra of rice, like I've been telling you guys to do. And typically for myself, I'm able to buy, one 1 pound bag that will last me um, five a week, 5 business days, and so yeah, and it's pretty. I can eat it for breakfast, for 2 meals a day, and I got that. I got a couple extra of those bags, so I'll be good for several weeks. And I got some rice. Usually rice when I buy the, 5 pound bag, that can last me a while, especially if I make like a yeah. Usually that'll last me 2 3 weeks if I buy a 5 pound bag. Just depends. But anyway, prices. Those 1 pound bags I used to buy them for $1. Now they're around 179 or so, which is almost double the price, which is ridiculous. And yeah, I mean, you might say, oh, that's not too bad, 79 cents. But hey, when you're trying to budget and you're trying to make sure you have uh, money for other things, to cover other costs, it starts adding up. Also, I noticed that, for example, and it could be due to seasonal changes, but mangoes, oh my goodness. It was like, my girlfriend, some, she bought like 2 mangoes. She paid like $7 $8. Unbelievable. Avocados off the charts. And I haven't seen, cardboard cutouts as of yet in the stores. Okay, but I've definitely seen empty shelves, whether that be in Target, Walmart, some of the grocery stores. They have some missing, packaged goods, and it's amazing to see. And I wonder how many people, when I'm walking around the store, have any clue as to what's happening, especially when we look at the ports in LA and Long Beach. And I know one of my subscribers here, I believe it's Lorenzo, he was telling me, yeah, he's from San Pedro in California. And I've definitely been around that area. He says, yeah, things aren't looking too good down here. And it'd be interesting to see what his situation is like. I'd definitely like to hear it because if he can provide insight, maybe there's people who are subscribed to this channel who also live nearby, and maybe you guys can connect and help each other out. But and this is what this channel's here to do, to help one person. At least if I can reach one person, that's all that matters. So anyways, let's get into the article here. Supermarkets are using cardboard cutouts of fruit, vegetables, and other groceries to fill gaps on shelves because supply problems combined with a shift towards smaller product ranges mean many stores are now too big. It says Tesco has begun using pictures of asparagus, carrots, oranges, and grapes in its fresh produce aisles, prompting ridicule on social media. Wow, and so it's not just asparagus, it's the carrots, it's the oranges, and it's the grapes. And this is going to begin to become an even bigger issue. And that's why I always, whenever I'm walking around, I'm always asking myself, I wonder how many people here are aware of what's happening. And then here we see it says, delicious photo of asparagus. And yeah, this is funny now, folks. And this seems like it'd be in Europe because of the euro or the pound sign, the euro sign. So the nevertheless, I think that as time progresses, this will no longer be funny. This is going to be a serious situation because if you have a family, right? If you have kids, it's going to be difficult, especially with, the new um let's call it medicine that's coming for children, possibly November. And I had this conversation this weekend on what do you do when the circle becomes tighter and tighter? And eventually the circle's going to close and you're either in or you're out. That's the scenario we're in. And we have this Glasgow meeting, COP26, that's taking place. And what are they going to talk about? Because apparently it's to secure nation support in the agenda to get rid of coal to generate electricity and cars, etc. And it's implementing this new agenda. And Biden is now meeting with the Pope. Private meeting. Whatever happened to the separation of church and state? Folks, last time there was a marriage in church and state, look what happened. It was the medieval era. You have got to be concerned because it's no longer going to be about, medicine or this climate agenda. What are the real motives here? What are the real motives? Here it says shoppers have spotted fake carrots in Fakenham, cardboard asparagus in London, pictures of oranges and grapes in Milton Keynes, and 2D washing liquid bottles in Cambridge. Sainsbury's also has used outline drawings of packaging to fill shelves. It says the tactic comes as shortages of HGV drivers and pickers and packers on farms and food processing plants lead to low availability of some items in supermarkets. Problems at ports, where handlers are struggling to cope with the surge in deliveries for the festive season, are also leading to shortages. Brian Roberts, a retail analyst, says that it has only begun to see the cardboard cutouts of fresh produce in the past year, but said that similar tactics have been in place elsewhere in supermarkets for some time. He says it's been commonplace. I don't know if you guys have seen the movie, The Interview. And in that movie, you see that, oh, it looks like all the stores are full, and as they're coming in, to North Korea, they see all they're cutouts, but it seems like their shelves full of fresh produce and goods. And at the end of the movie, he's walking around and he sees it and he walks in and behold, he sees cardboard cutouts to illustrate that it wasn't really real. It was fake. It was fake. And we're starting to see that now in real life. It's taking place. And one thing that I was always warning about in my videos, I said, don't get comfortable going through these crises. Because if you get comfortable, you're bound to accept whatever is coming next. And if you've already accepted, it makes it that much easier to accept the next goalpost. Because the goalpost is definitely getting moved further and further. Here we see, and I thought this was interesting, Austria launches the first warning for the risk of blackout in Europe. Stock up food and water. So they're warning you here. We see, what if there were a multi-day blackout that affected the entire European continent? This apocalyptic scenario that seems out of fiction is the argument that the Austrian Ministry of Defense has used to send an urgent notice to its population since the beginning of October. What to do in the event of a failure in the electricity supply or infrastructure across Europe. Stock up on food, water, batteries, and fuel for at least 15 days of critical electrical failure, are some of the tips in this official notice that could well take note of in the rest of the continent. Folks, 15 days. And there's the movie, I believe it's called The Purge, where everything just blacks out. And then you see complete anarchy in the streets. And this is conditional programming. It literally is. Everything that's being put out, it's conditional programming. And you're being fed these things. But look at where we are now. In the midst of possibly, and this is in Austria, of course, but still, and the Austrian Ministry of Defense put this out. 15 days of critical electrical failure. That's a long time. And when you think of that, what do you do if you're not prepared? What if it goes for a month? Do you have extra food stored? Do you have the requisite appliances? Because you for sure won't be able to use your a stove or anything, and you'll realize how much you depend on electricity, how much you depend on your phone or appliances. So you see this happening in Europe. Take into consideration that if it's happening over there, it's just a matter of time before it comes here. And they're warning you about it, and they're telling you here. They're literally telling you what supplies you should use. Let's see. I can't find it here, but maybe, yeah. But anyways, that's why I say watch out because it's coming. We see the economists here, the energy shock. They're talking about it. Okay, this is everywhere. As well, the economists, the shortage economy. What are we seeing now? It's becoming commonplace. It's become commonplace. And this is just the beginning. We're at the tip of the iceberg. And this is what's worrisome. Because it's just the tip of the iceberg. Here we see Swiss warn of blackout danger in worst case scenario for 2025. And I'll be frank here, I could come before then because of everything that's happening. If it doesn't happen this year for this winter, I would expect that next year come around, this time around, it's a very, very tangible possibility. And if you've seen how much the world has changed in 18 months, just imagine what the next 12 months will be like, the next 24 months. You literally, in the time that we live today, you can't really think about certain things in that kind of time frame, long-term time frame, because you just don't know how it's going to change. But you can do little things to prepare and for what you can control. Okay, whether that be food, right? Always have food, your water, and those are the important ones. Whatever else, I mean, it's just you got to stay up to date with what's happening. But here they say that you could be without power for nearly 2 days in a worst case scenario. So, excuse me. I mean, the blackouts, and this is something I've been talking about since way early in my channel about blackouts. This is something that's been at the forefront of this channel. We see that Lebanon, they suffered a 24-hour blackout, food poisoning, business closures amid a fuel crisis. It said Lebanon suffered a total power outage over the weekend, leaving its population of 6 million without centrally generated electricity for a day. The crisis is creating a nightmare for the country's residents, but it's been a long time in the making. we cannot buy a lot of things. We cannot buy cheese and ham. We have to buy them by small pieces because we don't always have electricity and the people are always afraid. A complete state of anarchy, folks. Complete state of anarchy. And keep in mind, the police force in major cities are now being fired or are resigning over medicine mandates. And if something like this were to take place, where's the security? Where's the protection? No police. No police. Okay? And you should expect complete anarchy if something like this takes place, which I do believe a blackout will take place. And it all comes back down to what I've been talking about of the cyber polygon. Okay? And what was the whole goal of the cyber polygon? I made a video on this. I said whole goal is the 2021 technical exercise builds and tests the skills needed to protect our industries, centering on a targeted supply chain attack. And what is happening now? What have I been showing you? Supply chain and energy. You knock those down completely, especially in a world which is globally interconnected. You break those two down, you will surrender a civilization to their knees. And if any example is made out of these other countries, you should expect that it's gonna come, that the rooster is gonna come home to roost. So keep that in mind, folks, as we continue in these crazy times. But know that you can have control over circumstances. Okay? There's some things that are out of your hands, but there's a lot of things that are within your hands to prepare. All right. I hope this episode has brought you some value. Like and subscribe, comment below. Let me know your thoughts. Also, Lorenzo, I'd like to hear more about your situation in San Pedro, man. Things are getting interesting down there, especially with these cargo ships. So, folks, let me know your thoughts. This is the Digital World Podcast, and I'll see